Slash web suspect, and I'm doing a video on some theories as to why SpaceX crs-7 deflagrated. I'm not saying it exploded, because I would believe, my personal opinion is, with an explosion we'd see a large amount of combustible material burning, but rather what we saw was a large amount of liquid oxygen gas venting, followed by the destruction of the front of the rocket and its aerodynamic profile being shifted and causing the rest of the rocket to disintegrate. So I have three theories on why this happened. It is visible in the video, and a lot of people said the same things. My first theory is that there's fill valves on the top of the rocket, and the hoses disconnect, and the rocket takes off. Now, at this point, measurements are being taken of the gases, and the rocket's being filled with liquid oxygen, and it's being bounced off in preparation for launch. Now, if one of those locks, kind of like when you put gas in the car, didn't close all the way, the liquid oxygen would vent off, come down the side of the rocket, and ignite. So if the ignited oxygen went into the tank, and there was a fire of liquid oxygen inside the tank, that may have perhaps caused a pressure buildup inside of the tank. At that point, I don't have any access to data from the rocket launch, but at that point, I believe that the pressure would have built up instantaneously in the rocket, and we may have had a detonation right away. However, there is some lighting on the underside of the rocket that would support this, and there is also a dot visible at the top of the rocket. Now, I haven't done a video on this yet because it goes into conspiracy theories, and as we know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are proven but just aren't generally accepted by society, and that is, in a lot of the videos, there is a dot visible kind of in that area, the general area of the upper stage of the rocket. Now, there is a laser that, a high-powered laser that Boeing has developed for Department of Defense that can shoot down a ICBM or a rocket, and it's experimental. It's part of the Star Wars program, and it's called a coil laser. Coil stands for chemical oxygen iodine laser. And so, in a coil laser, oxygen, iodine are catalyzed, and it produces a energetic effect, probably with in combination of a turbine, to create a lot of power to fire a laser, a large laser, because lasers need a lot of power. Now, if a laser was used to shoot down crs-7, it could have been the Russians or the Russians or Boeing / Martin Marietta would have had a reason to get SpaceX's rocket to fail, because the Russians stand to gain $400 billion this year in contracts from selling RD-181 rocket engines to NASA. In addition, Boeing has a $500 billion contract to sell rockets to NASA. So if SpaceX, I have to slow down a little bit, had a large amount of rocket failures, then they may lose their contract with NASA. And in addition to that, you would expect the dot to appear on FLIR. So I had asked around if there was video footage of forward-looking infrared on the rocket. Indeed, 4 seconds before the rocket explodes, the dot is visible on forward-looking infrared as a white flare. Now, this is consistent in what you would see with a coil laser. So again, SpaceX is looking to find data from the pressure in the forward second stage liquid oxygen tank that would support one of these theories. And the third theory is that the NTSB and the Federal Aviation Administration is pushing, is that there was a bad regulator. There is a high pressure tank in the lower and the upper stage rocket that pushes kerosene rocket fuel into the engine, because rocket fuel is not under compression like liquid oxygen is. and therefore it needs to be pressurized out. Now, pressure a regulator takes the whatever pressure is in the HPA tank, which is I'm guessing 2,800 to 3,200 pounds per square inch, and reduces it to a usable level. I'm going to say like 80 psi, but it's probably wrong. We'll just say, for sake of argument, 200 psi or whatever. I don't know. I'll go back to 80 psi. It's a random number, and it makes that usable to propel chemicals out of the tank. I just don't see this third theory that's being presented as a viable theory. There was a pipe or a hose that bursted a few seconds before the deflagration, which was caused by the high pressure in the liquid oxygen tank, probably, rather than cause an effect where maybe the hose broke and caused some kind of reaction in the tank. I would think that rather the high pressure being pushed out of the tank caused the failure of the hose. I guess you could look at where the hose separated as a source for why the hose separated, but SpaceX is probing around for blurbs. So my blurb is that SpaceX is looking at the data from the event to support a theory. So if the data went up gradually like this, let's say that the forward lock from the hose coming in to fill the LOX didn't close properly and a fire started there. Like the oxygen came down the side of the rocket, went up, and then into port, and then into the oxygen tank, and the high pressure started immediately on takeoff and then gradually went up